Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Heartful Insights, a podcast where I dive into unfiltered connections, navigating relationships, and life's beautiful mess. Today, we're exploring negging, the subtle art of cutting someone down. And tonight, I am joined by neuroscientist Alyssa Christina.
Hi, Mariana. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm doing a PhD in neuroscience, and I majored in neuroscience in my undergraduate, and I did study psychology. And my work now revolves around studying neurons. And I'm really excited to dive into today's topic. Every woman needs to know what negging is. Some men might not even realize they're doing this. And the goal of this podcast episode is to increase awareness and minimize harm. And you will never fall for toxicity again if you listen to this entire episode.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. So what Alyssa's going to do is break down what negging is, why people do it, why it's dangerous, the psychology and neuroscience and the reward systems behind it, and the red flags to watch out for as you recognize and challenge these patterns in behavior. She'll be able to help you handle it if it happens to you. So let's get into the first question, Alyssa. What is negging?
So negging is emotional manipulation disguised as humor or casual remarks, but its real goal is to lower a person's self-esteem to gain control. So it's often used in dating dynamics where a man subtly insults a woman through like backhanded compliments to make her feel like she has to earn his approval. Right? So for example, you're pretty for someone who doesn't usually dress up, right? So yeah, it's the delivery of compliments alongside insults to undermine a woman's self-esteem. Right? So this creates insecurity. It makes the woman seek validation from the very person undermining her.
Yeah.
And it's also so that she lowers her standards for him.
And it's quite backhanded, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's sly, crafty emotional manipulation. And there's a technique they do actually. It's called a compliment sandwich. So
right. Tell us
have you
about
heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Compliment, insult, compliment. So it's really sneaky. Ready? I'll give you an example. Your smile really lights up the room. Your nose doesn't look as big when you smile. You have such a beautiful smile.
Oh
right?
my goodness.
And then you're just like, okay, thank you. But like, what's wrong with my nose? Right?
Yeah. And you start to overthink that, like, it's like, okay, well, there's all these compliments around me, but then like you just said that my nose looks smaller when I smile. Like, what is that? It makes you overthink.
Exactly. Right? It's just, and then if she calls it out, she's told, oh, you're too sensitive or you can't take a joke, right?
Oh my
Constant
goodness.
digs with malicious intent to undermine a person is not a joke.
No, not at all. And why do you think that men use negging romantically? Like, how does it affect their social status and self-worth?
Okay, so negging is done to assert dominance, to signal a higher social status and to fuel like power dynamics or mask insecurity, right? And research shows that people often use backhanded compliments not to flatter, but to subtly assert superiority, right? So, for example, you're smarter than you look, or you're pretty funny for a girl. It leaves you confused, right?
Yeah,
because
do you
receiving
like me,
this,
or like,
exactly,
are you trying to insult me? It's hard to tell. It's hard to break that down.
Yeah. It definitely causes a lot of confusion and discomfort and offense instead of flattery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of want to like also point out that like negging does share some traits with gaslighting, right? But the difference is that gaslighting makes someone doubt their reality, so their thoughts, memories, perception, while negging specifically targets confidence and self-esteem. But either way, right, both are tools used to manipulate and control. And recognizing it is the first step to shutting it down. So let's get into specific examples. And I have studies, and I just want to point out that all of these will be in the description. If anyone, I highly encourage people to look these up as well. So onto why they give backhanded compliments. Like, so in competitive environments like workplaces or dating, if someone feels threatened, they're more likely to use negging to reassert control. So there was a study in 2019 on why they give backhanded compliments by Cesar and colleagues. Right? And so participants were asked to choose between giving compliments or backhanded compliments to either elicit liking, convey status, or both. So, for example, the compliment would be, "You're so smart." Genuine compliment, right? The backhanded compliment is, "You're so smart for your educational background." This one's also like, okay, so or another compliment is, your ideas are great. And the backhanded compliment was, your ideas are a lot better than I expected.
Oh my gosh, it's like if someone were to say that to me, I would think that like they'd have a preconceived idea that like I'm not that smart, and
Yeah,
that like I've
exactly.
surprised them by being like, it's like you didn't really have faith in me beforehand, or you didn't think highly of me beforehand. It's actually quite insulting.
Exactly, right? So in that study, over 80% of people would choose the backhanded compliment to signal status, like they're better than someone, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so this suggests that there's a power struggle at play when someone engages in negging to subtly assert superiority. And this doesn't just have to happen romantically. You see this in mean girls, mean boys, bullies, right? People insult to assert superiority, especially in male friendships. Like they tend to be like, oh, whoever delivers the best insult or like can like throw the best shade is like, I don't know, top dog, top
Yeah.
shit, you know what I
Yeah, or
mean?
who looks more like the man, or who's more manly, who's more
Yeah.
muscular. Yeah.
Mm,
It's like it's
yeah.
always a big competition.
Exactly, exactly. Recent studies suggest that like another reason for negging could be to mask the manipulator's own insecurities, right? So that they can protect their status. So people who are hypersensitive to rejection may find themselves engaging in backhanded compliments more often to restore their status. So for example, my friend wasn't interested in a guy and he went around telling people, oh, she thinks she's all that, like she's not even that pretty, right? Instead of just moving on, they'd use insults to restore their status to soothe their ego. So, like, yeah, if they lower her, it makes them feel as if it wasn't a loss for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like that insecurity creeping in. And it's almost as
Mm,
if like when a man's rejected, they try to play it out as if it wasn't even a big deal, or that person wasn't even worthy.
mm.
And it reminds me of a situation where, I broke up with a guy, and he told me, oh, well, your youth is fading anyway, because you'll be turning
Mm.
30 soon, and you're going to be less worthy in the eyes of men because they prefer younger women.
Okay, that just sounds like an extremely insecure and immature boy who cannot handle rejection or just take it on the chin, just to be like, I'm just not interested, like just move on. Like there's no need to insult someone like that. And I think,
Right.
yeah, that's a really, yeah, big problem. Um, I mean, it happens to both genders, but the majority of cases, like it's men doing it because sometimes they're just taught, right? Or
Yeah.
like we grew up being taught like, oh, if he's mean to you, like it means he likes you or something, like it's not right. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, negging can become dangerous really quickly as well, right? Because
Yeah.
beyond insecurity, it's dangerous because it normalizes emotional abuse, right? So name calling, belittlement, humiliation, it will allow an abusive person to gain power and control. And it's often combined with other factors like neglect, physical, sexual, financial abuse to prevent victims from escaping abusive relationships. Right? And it's actually a technique that's taught by dating companies. I've even heard people say, treat him mean, keep him keen, or never tell a pretty woman that she's pretty, right?
Or like those red pillar podcasts.
That's exactly what I'm referring to, right? I do
Oh my
not agree with it at
goodness.
all. It's completely unacceptable. And every like good, genuine, smart, high value woman with high self-esteem, no one accepts this.
No, and you shouldn't have to. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
And I
poor
know that
social
we've,
skills. Yeah.
yeah, oh, absolutely, it's poor social skills. And I know that we've touched on that it's got a lot to do with, insecurity, but what are the specific neurological and psychological drivers behind this behavior other than insecurity? Because we know that you're a neuroscientist.
Mm.
Would you be able to explain what kind of reward mechanisms are activated in the brain when men engage in these negging behaviors?
Yeah, negging isn't just about words, right? It's tied to deeper neurological and psychological mechanisms that's associated with antisocial behavior and psychopathy, right? So by antisocial behavior, I mean like physical, verbal, sexual aggression, risk-taking traits, theft, trait impulsivity, emotion reactivity. And for psychopathy, it's all the antisocial traits as well as superficial charm, callousness, so insensitive and cruel disregard to others, manipulativeness, grandiosity, lying, irresponsibility, lack of empathy, and remorse, right? So there's a lot, right? But research on antisocial behavior and psychopathy shows that these traits have an overactive dopamine reward system, which means they don't just seek control, they get a surge of pleasure from anticipating it. And brain imaging studies, such as those by, I wrote this down, Bjork and colleagues 2012 and Goretz and colleagues 2016, show that people with psychopathic traits, the brain's motivation and reward center called the ventral striatum, that lights up when they anticipate or force that submission. So what I mean by this is like this makes negging and any other form of manipulation like a game to them where dominance is the prize. So they get, it lights up when they're about to do it, or they know like by doing this, that's how they'll get their reward. So it happens before she submits.
Wow. So it's like maliceness and just outright horrible actions is what kind of like triggers that reward system for them, and it's nothing positive at all.
It's like it's the intention, right? It's the like that they want someone to dominate, and it's that the act of dominating, that the game is what triggers the reward mechanism. And at the same time, their medial prefrontal cortex, which regulates emotions, decision making, empathy, it's often impaired, and this means that they struggle to recognize when a woman is not interested or when their behavior is harmful. So they push boundaries because their brain is wired to seek control over connection. But here's the truth, just to make it clear. Breaking someone down to win their affection, it's not a foundation for intimacy, it's emotional abuse.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not a good start to the relationship.
Exactly. Like there's no need to do that. Like, because over time, like negging can increase in frequency and intensity and become extremely destructive and dangerous, such as in 2014. I encourage people to look this up. Okay. 2014, 22-year-old Elliot Roger unalived 6 individuals and injured 13 others before unaliving himself. Okay. And before this, he recorded a video explaining that he wanted to punish all women and sexually active men as he has never been intimate with a woman. And like he's been actively participating in forum discussions about picking up women. He subscribed to a YouTube channel that teaches negging techniques. Like it can very quickly turn bad, right? And there's cases all the time where women are unalived for rejecting a man, right? In last October in Australia, a safe country, Lily James rejected a boy who unalived her and then himself. Every single day, this is from the United Nations, right? Every single day, 140 women around the world are unalived by a partner or close relative. Every single day. And the reason why I'm focusing now on women, right? Of course, it can happen to both genders. Of course it can. But of all DV unaliving cases, 74% or 3 in 4 women are unalived by a male partner. 1 in 10 men are unalived by a female or a male partner. And in almost every case, the woman unalived her male partner in self-defense, right? That's like 7 out of 10 cases. It was due to self-defense because she was experiencing a different kind of hurt, like. And
that's backed by studies.
Yes, this is from the UN. So I that will be linked as well. So if you want to look that up. And most boys were unalived by a male parent. So these are the children of the male parent.
Oh wow.
So statistics are showing that it's happening to women and children the most. Right? It's often the first step. Negging is the first step in a cycle of control that can escalate into physical harm.
It's a major warning sign, and it's happening to the most vulnerable people in our community.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what are some effective ways for men to actually, recognize and change these patterns of behavior before they realize that they're actually prone to negging? Are there any neuroscience-backed strategies that can actually foster a healthier interpersonal interaction?
I will address the men first, and then I will address women because I think this is extremely important to address. Okay, so with men, it's about recognizing and changing the pattern. So if you ever feel the urge to humble a woman or comment on her flaws, or put her down, pause and ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? Is it to soothe a bruised ego, to feel powerful, to punish someone for rejecting you? If the answer is yes, this is a red flag. Okay? Negging isn't harmless. It's rooted in insecurity and a need for control. And studies show that putting others down doesn't actually improve your self-esteem. It just masks deeper emotional wounds. So instead of resorting to manipulation, seek professional help to unpack these feelings. Therapy is not a weakness. It's how you break these toxic patterns and build genuine confidence. Okay. So that's what I would say to men. And for women, we also need to do some work, right? It can't just be like men recognize, because as much as we want them to change, we also need to look within ourselves and see what is the internal work that we need to do, right? Because unfortunately, right, women with lower self-esteem, they see themselves as flawed, and they tend to tolerate and accept negging and other forms of abusive behavior, right? Because we've all heard the saying, right? We accept the love we think we deserve, right?
Yeah.
And
it stems back from how we were raised as well, and how our parents raised us, and what we think is acceptable, even if it's so bad.
Yeah, exactly. And there's this influential speaker that I absolutely adore, Mel Robbins. You heard of her? She's an author. Yeah, you've heard of her?
Yeah, I've heard of her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. So, and she says that there's only 3 things that we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our emotional responses. So if you struggle with self-esteem, you can address it, right? Because if you don't, okay, I see women who hurt others, they gossip, they spread rumors, they sabotage, instead of working on themselves and their self-esteem, right? Because our self-esteem is within our control. Yeah, like we can choose to be happy. We can choose to be grateful. Yeah, we can choose to see the silver lining, and we can address it, whether through self-reflection, therapy, or surrounding yourself with supportive people.
You're not responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for the way that you treat others and for your own healing and recovery.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. That is so true. Like, it is really sad that some people go through things, but I've seen people go through really, really difficult situations, and they are still good people. No matter how bad their situation was, they still stayed like a genuine, beautiful person, because they're like, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm not going to be the hurt person that hurts other people. I can do something about it. Right?
Exactly.
So that is the internal work. But what about other people, right? Like, we can't control other people. So what do we need to do? We need to have boundaries. Okay? So
yes.
Do not let backhanded compliments slide. It's a power play. Take your power back by standing up for yourself and by having boundaries. And in a moment, we're going to go through that. Like, I'll teach you how to have boundaries, and we're going to go over red flags, and we'll go through how you can combat that. I just want to point out, that healthy flirting feels good. It's mutual, it's lighthearted, it's respectful. Genuine compliments, friendly banter, shared interests, clear respect for boundaries are green flags. On the other hand, negging, it creates a lot of confusion, insecurity, self-doubt, right? If you constantly feel like someone is making you feel small, but they're like, oh, they're just joking, like it's not an accident, that is emotional manipulation if it keeps happening,
Yeah, 100%. And you're not going crazy, even if there's that gut feeling, because as women, we instinctively have that gut feeling when something is wrong. If you feel that gut feeling like, hey, something is wrong, I don't like that, 9 out of 10 times listen to it, because it's usually right.
Exactly. Always listen to it. If you feel uncomfortable, you have every right to speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you've gone over the green flags for, dating and relationships and healthy flirting. But what are the red flags?
All right. I want you to get out a pen for this. Okay.
Oh.
I want the listeners, you all need to get out a pen. Okay. Because negging can be really subtle at first. right? The constant confusion, the constant belittling, you feel disrespected, you're second guessing yourself around someone, right? All of that, those are red flags. And, because you're thinking like, oh, wait, they complimented me, but they also insulted me, right? And it keeps happening. And then it escalates. And you try to justify it and say, wait, they still do nice things for me, which makes it harder to see the manipulation, right? And that's the thing that people don't understand. Abusers do not abuse every day. Sometimes they have bad days, sometimes they have good days. But abuse is still abuse, right? If someone's constantly has to erode your self-esteem while keeping you hooked, that's not affection, that's control. Okay? So this is the red flags, okay? The compliment, insult, compliment sandwich that we went over earlier.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go through some more examples, right? So backhanded compliments, right? So the insults that are disguised as praise. So for example, you look nice today for once. Or you look better without makeup. Or I don't usually go for women like you, but I'll make an exception. Or you're actually interesting. I didn't expect that. Or you're really brave going outside looking like that. And these are subtle digs to undermine your confidence. For example, you're going to wear that? Is that a good idea? Like, are you sure you want dessert? Or you'd look really sexy if you lost weight.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That is, comments about your physical appearance should, in that, never happen. Never
No.
happen. Unless it's just, you look really sexy. That's it.
Yeah.
I was also looking at examples, and what's it called? Someone said, like they compare you to other people. So you almost earn as much money as my ex.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
yeah, or like you're almost as funny as my ex. It's sort of like they will bring someone else.
Oh,
You're not Scarlett Johansson, but you look good in that dress. Like, excuse me? They undermine your achievements. So like, for example, your
oh boy.
success was all luck, or you just got lucky, you know?
Yeah. It's just pure luck. It's not like you worked for it.
Yeah. Another thing they do is they disguise constructive criticism. So for example, you'd look better if blah, 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 or you should blah, blah, blah. It's change something about yourself. It shouldn't happen. You shouldn't tell someone they need to change anything about their physical appearance, you know?
Yeah, no, it's not on. And how
Yeah.
can we respond to this like appropriately and actually tackle this to make sure that it doesn't happen again or confidently walk away from this?
Yeah. Okay. So this is extremely, extremely important, right? So the most important skill to protect yourself is assertive communication and boundaries, right? And it's standing up for yourself without getting defensive or emotional. And neuroscience and psychology back this, right? So it's staying calm, direct. It removes the power from the manipulators. Okay, so don't laugh, smile, or brush it off. Okay, they need to know how you feel and what will happen if they don't stop. And you need to focus on I statements instead of you statements so they don't get defensive. They might still, but like as long as you keep it as assertive and calm as possible, right? So my clinical psychologist actually taught me this on how to set boundaries. It's AEOA. So A, appreciate. E, express your feelings. O, offer your opinion. And A, ask what they think. So, for example, they say something extremely inappropriate, and then they say like, "Oh, it's just a joke." You can say, "I appreciate you for trying to make me laugh," and express yourself. So, although this is actually a lot more hurtful than it is funny, I feel belittled. And O, offer your opinion. So, I'd rather we keep things lighthearted and kind. What do you think about that? So, ask what they think at the end.
Yeah, so it's giving them an option.
Yeah, and they might keep going, right? You could say like, oh, they'll be like, oh, but you're just too sensitive, and you do it again, right? But you kind of like stop at this point, right? So you say, like, thank you for noticing that I have feelings, so appreciate them and express your feelings. So I feel hurt and sad when you speak to me this way. Your opinion. I just wanted to let you know how I felt, and I would like for you to stop. Or you can just say, if this behavior continues, I will have to reconsider this relationship, right? So you're just letting them know, just giving them a heads up that you feel uncomfortable, which you should do anytime you do feel uncomfortable, right? But you always start with like appreciation to say like, give them the benefit of the doubt, say, I appreciate you as a person, or I appreciate the intention behind this, and then just express your feelings. And if they genuinely cared, they wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
And they would work and look inward and try to fix that.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they cared, they will stop. And if they get defensive or they keep doing it, even after you've told them multiple times that this is not how you would like to be treated, they don't respect you, and that's your answer.
Yeah.
Right? Love isn't about tearing someone down. You have to leave for the sake of your mental health and sometimes your safety.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. That's a really, really good point, Alyssa.
Mm.
Wow. And what should you do if it escalates and gets worse? Like, say if it were to get to that point
Yeah.
where, like, the negging turns into, more serious actions that have serious consequences.
Mm. So watch out for these signs to see if the negging is escalating, right? So you're becoming isolated from family and friends. They put you down in front of others. Your belongings go missing or they get destroyed, or you're being pressured to do things you don't want to do, right? It's a constant thing. It's like the constant belittling, the constant negging, and it just gets worse, right? So, and if this happens, I'm truly sorry that you're experiencing this, and I want to let you know that you're not alone. This doesn't have to be your reality. And here's what you can do. Okay? So number 1, document everything. Keep a written record. You want to be prepared just in case, right? Sometimes like you really need to go to the police, or you need to build a case or something. You need to keep a record. Like it tends to happen late, but the earlier you can start. And it also like keeps you aware, like, oh, I've been doing this for a long time, like put a date on it. Even if it's written, or even like screenshots or anything that can be time stamped, do that. You need to document it. And if you can't save it, email it to yourself, put it somewhere, send it to someone. You need to document it. Okay?
Yeah.
Number 2, break the isolation. So reach out to people you trust, such as friends, families, teachers, guidance counselors, a psychologist. Number 3, seek professional support. If you don't feel that you can deal with this on your own, consider seeing a therapist who can help you figure out what to do, or join a support group. And number 4, have an exit plan. So have a strategy in place in case you need to leave really quickly. Okay, and number 5, if it is safe to do so, end the relationship. Okay, so only if it's safe you can end the relationship. We're going to leave some resources that you can access at the end, but I want you to know that at the end of the day, real love feels safe. It's kind, it's exciting, it's respectful. Lover boys, lover girls, that's the vibe, right? We don't want any bad boys, nonchalant men, or
Yeah.
emotionally unavailable people. That's not mysterious. That's not exciting. They're just immature and toxic. Right?
Yeah.
You don't need toxicity for dopamine. You can
No.
create excitement in your life without
Yeah. And I
sacrificing your
find that's
self-worth.
something that we come to
Yeah.
learn as we get older, especially with like, women like us who have experienced such like narcissistic individuals who have tried to put us down. Another thing that I just wanted to add is like, taking like a mental note. So before you say anything, just look at like, the small, even like little microaggressions and stuff, and just taking mental note of that and just being like, okay, so that's one thing. Like obviously like you can jot it down, but I find that like also having a mental note is actually really, really good.
Yeah,
And
being mindful. Yeah.
being very mindful. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah,
Yeah.
mindfulness, definitely.
Mindful and aware. You can even like confide in people if it keeps happening. But
Yeah,
of
bring it
course,
up
if
to
you're
a friend.
concerned, if you're
Yeah.
concerned for your safety, start like writing it down so that you can see it's like a pattern that keeps happening, right? And it's sad because like growing up, like we used to love like the bad boys, like the Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl, or like
Yeah.
Jacob Black from Twilight. It's like,
Oh
or
my
like all the yeah, right. Like I'm like,
oh my goodness.
if you're an adult and those are the kinds of men you like, you really need to maybe speak to someone, do a bit of work, do a bit of healing, because that's not right. It's not right at all. If you
Yeah.
look at their behavior, you're like, that is no, so
Yeah.
toxic,
In the long
so
run,
inappropriate.
yeah. Long run, not something that's really good for you.
No, absolutely not. Right? You can see, the thing is, you can choose fun, you can choose adventure, you can choose love with someone who truly respects you. That can all
Yeah,
happen. Right? You do not need to put up with any toxicity behavior whatsoever.
absolutely. And what are your key points from this? And what do you want the audience to take away and remember from this episode?
All right, so quick summary. Okay, so negging is emotional manipulation and abuse designed to lower your self-esteem and confidence. It's often used in dating to create insecurity, to make the victim more likely to seek validation from the manipulator. And why do men engage in negging? To assert dominance, mask insecurity, protect social status, and it can escalate to other forms of abuse and make it harder for victims to leave unhealthy relationships. And I just want to point out, right, that you can spend so much time trying to understand why they are the way they are, but that's not your responsibility. Just because you understand doesn't mean you need to let it slide. Right? They need to work on themselves as much as you need to work on yourself. Okay, do not accept backhanded compliments. Okay, set the standard early, set the boundary early, stop letting it slide. And you can set boundaries with the AEOA method. So appreciate, express feelings, offer opinion, ask what they think. Okay, if they respect you, they'll stop. If they don't, that's a sign to walk away. Okay, people who love and care about you won't continue to hurt you, right? And if it escalates, what if negging escalates? Keep a written record, reach out to trusted people, see a counselor or psychologist if you need to, and make an exit plan if it gets worse. If anyone finds value in this, I highly recommend listening to it again and actually taking notes and looking up the references I said, looking up support, because it's really valuable and it can really change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the takeaway from this episode is that, negging is subtle, but it's also a very powerful way that people can try to cut others down. And, whether it's through the backhanded compliments, which you gave many great examples of, and as well as, discouraging your confidence, we don't have to shrink ourselves to make others comfortable. And my worth, your worth, anyone's worth, it's not up for debate. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and don't be afraid to call it out, and walk away from those who, don't respect you. Overall, I think confidence is your best defense against this type of manipulation.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't have said it better.
I'm so glad that I had you here today. Where can people find you on social media, Alyssa?
Thank you so much. So you can find me on Instagram, Alyssa Christina, Kristinaa on Instagram, and TikTok, ALYSSA_KRISTINA. Thank you
Yeah,
so
and we'll
much,
put that in
Mariana.
the info. No, it's all good. I'm so glad that you've come on with me tonight. I'll
Me
put all of her
too.
links down in my bio. Thank you guys for tuning into Heartful Insights episode 4. I'm glad to finally be back in it and have her with me. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share whatever platform you're on, and see you next time, and we'll tune in for episode 5.